have just discovered the other 10 commandments. There is 20 commandments in total. This changes everything we know about every religion on the face of the earth. And I am about to read all the new 10 commandments, all 20 of them for the first time in human history. So the 11th commandment is, thou shalt not.
What do you stop? Stop. What do you mean stop? We're live right now. Millions of viewers. Okay, maybe it's a classroom, but that's still a lot of people. What? It's the Ten Commandments, though. Brand new. You heard, Ben. This is gonna change the face of religion. Well, what am I gonna talk about? We're live right now. Napoleon? Who's that? How am I supposed to know Napoleon? Who am I, French? No, I'm American. Fine, I guess I'll talk about him. Only for a little bit. But before we can begin, I would like to talk about Napoleon a little bit. Because I know for a fact half of you weren't paying attention in Morimoto's class. So, Napoleon Bonaparte. As some people believe he was French, which he was, but he wasn't necessarily born on the mainland. He was actually born on an obscure island of Corsica. And at that time, Corsica was being bought out by France as soon as Napoleon was born. He had a good middle class living financially, so his parents decided to send him to school in the big city. And it was all from there. His ambition kept on growing as he got older. With each job he got, becoming a general when he was around 17, 18. But behind the myth of the military genius is far more complicated than reality. Napoleon didn't simply rise to power because of his talent. His power came from something else. Could be manipulation of public opinion, of France's political chaos during that time. In this video essay, I argue that Napoleon's rise to power was fueled not by heroic leadership, but the strategic political manipulation that shaped his image, exaggerating his victories, and allowed him to legally take control of the French government. As we begin with section 1, we'll be talking about the world around Napoleon and how we understand that his military genius wasn't the only reason why he was rated so highly. Um, Napoleon was lucky, people say, to be in France when France was in total dismantle. What I mean by this is in the 1790s, France was exhausted. People had lived through the revolution, the reign of terror, economic collapse, and politically unstable. No one like wanted any of the newer candidates that were there. They wanted someone they could trust and rely on, but France just wasn't producing that at the moment, which is where Napoleon saw something. He saw a chance to be that guy. Historian Charles Brooks also stated this, that Napoleon presented himself as the one who could restore order after a decade of chaos. And the way he presented himself to the people was grand. He didn't show up being all cocky. He thought about the people. He thought about the commoners that didn't have food at the time. He portrayed himself not just as a military commander either, but as the savior of France for all the people around him, and they will return France to its former glory. As Napoleon went on and on with his wars and battles, as he became what people say a dictator in France, of course there's gonna be haters. The me this, me that, me what happened in Egypt. I don't know what happened in Egypt. Do you? I doubt it. So Napoleon understood that precipitation is power, and the easiest way to shape precipitation is control the narrative. They can't say anything bad if they have nothing bad to write about. That's what Napoleon thought. Napoleon personally wrote or edited letters, statements, or even reports about his own battles. Losses were softened, retreats were rebranded as strategic, victories were exaggerated into heroic triumphs. So, for that example I threw out, the battle in Egypt, he lost that one heavily. It was awful. But He was the one writing the own story. And when it got posted in French news, they were like, "Oh, he did it! He won another battle! He's the true like military genius we're waiting for." And with that, his popularity grew even stronger. According to Ronek's research, Napoleon shut down independent or crucial newspapers as soon as he gained influence. He replaced them with state approved papers that praised him and framed him as essential for France's survival. He wasn't just winning battles, he was constructing his own book, which you gotta admit, that's very smart for someone who's trying to take over the entire like Eastern European sides when you have such a weak country like France at the time with its economy struggling. You wanted to have the people on your side, and this is the perfect way to do it. As we continue through our journey, manipulating weaknesses and using the fear factor from France, Napoleon crafted his image, and while that was happening, the French directory was falling apart basically. It was in complete disarray. France's weak government was failing due to corruption, indecision, and military failures, which made people desperate for something new, something or someone that could bring change. Historian Eric Frerer provides an unexpected insight into Napoleon's past. His early illnesses, harsh living conditions, and constant exposure to lice and diseases during his youth. Through Freyer's articles focus on trench fever, it also highlights how Napoleon grew up in these environments and taught him survival calculation and how to be adaptable. Those same instincts shaped how he read France's political situation. Napoleon knew if the government looked weak, he could appear strong to the people. So when he returned from Egypt, he positioned himself as the only solution. Before, France had two consuls, but with a few tweaks in the writing, it was basically just one consul. Only Napoleon. Like up here, that's where he was. Second consul was like down here. No one really cared about him. But where it really showed was the coup of 18 Baram. This was the real turning point that happened in 1799. This was not a display of moral heroism, democratic decision making, or any other fantasy that people want you to believe. This was a political heist. Napoleon and his allies spread rumors and threats and conspiracies, creating panic amongst government officials. So, with that fear, Napoleon asked them to come to a safer location to persuade them. But, Napoleon, he was not there just to kid around, keep him safe. He was there to gain something for himself, which is why when resistance came in his way, he wasn't afraid to just pull out the military that he had under his sleeve. He was a general after all. And he didn't frame it as like, oh, Napoleon pulled his army on like protesters. No, it was considered protection, as he put it in the news. Through the staged drama, intimidation, and manipulation of the Constitution, Napoleon emerged as the new ruler of France, or considered to be the French emperor. Not because the people chose him, although people did believe he was great, as you can read the news articles that were posted around the entirety of France, but it's because he outmaneuvered everyone else. No one could beat him. Adding on to what I previously stated, once in power, Napoleon designed the Constitution of Year 8, which looked democratic on the surface, but what it really did was just make him in charge forever. It was considered to be the start of his empire, as people would say, and he almost has total control of all of Europe during this time. He also rigged voting, had massive propaganda scandals, staged public support, and national fear. These were not tactics of a leader rising naturally. These were the tactics of a leader tightening his grip over an entire country. When it came to military, he was great. He was a military genius, as some would say, one of the greatest since Julius Caesar, which is a lot. And you you can see it, being able to split his armies into two to make fighting easier, losing a supply train and living off the land so he can move easier. And he had the total respect of his army, which is great. But you can't skim over the facts that he shaped his own myth through propaganda. He censored the press through newspapers and silenced critics about him. He used France's fear to gain support, and he engineered a legal takeover through manipulation. So, yes, Napoleon was brilliant, but his brilliance didn't put him in power. That is why Napoleon's rise to power should not be seen as a heroic climb, but as a carefully planned political takeover that reshaped an entire nation. That's the news for today. See you soon.